Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Hopefully, everybody can hear me and get me clearly here. Just trying to get situated. It is officially Michigan week, um, and I want to go through just some early things after we obviously played our game against Colorado State, theirs against Fresno, and tell the tape, right, in terms of what we're facing the defending national champs. Understanding, yes, Michigan has a lot of new starters, a lot of new faces who we saw this past weekend up in Ann Arbor take on Fresno State. And I know a lot of people are not very impressed with what they saw, especially from the Michigan offense and some of the struggles they had throughout the game with Fresno State, which, excuse me, until late was a tight ball game. But this is that's not the group I'm expecting us to face when we head up to Ann Arbor. I do expect them to be on point, to be and for us to prepare for their A game. Right? We at the end of the day, Texas normally gets everyone's best shot, and that's what I'm expecting and preparing for. Right? I'm not expecting to see a team that was sleepwalking against Fresno State. There's there's certain things that we can notice and take advantage of, right? In terms of personnel and matchups, and that's stuff I want to talk about with you guys and share notes. But I want to make sure that there's a difference between understanding what you're seeing on film as a true liability and issue, including ourselves, right? And some things that could be taken away as concerns from both sides versus things we know are week one, game one, very fixable things, some things related to scheme, whether things are vanilla. Hey, the game plan isn't really the game plan, what we're going to see until we get to Ann Arbor, again, on both sides. So I want to make sure we are very, very clear in terms of setting the ground rules here. Another ground rule, as you come into the chat, make sure you hit that like button. Please subscribe. Appreciate everybody that's shown us the love as we've come back this season. It's a fun time to be a Texas fan. And so if you're looking for more of this content, really appreciate it. Hit that like button. Subscribe really helps this platform grow. Joey Flores, Fahim in here. So I see the usual suspects already coming in here. No, absolutely. Michigan will be better against us, no doubt about it. I'm glad you're on the same page. Been excited for this one. Fahim, what's good? What's going on, brother? Still so confident we would have beat him last year too if we got him instead of Washington. I actually was one of the few people that preferred. I don't know if you guys remember when we did our college football show. I wanted Michigan, even with Harbaugh and everything they did. It was because of the matchup, especially with what I had at defensive tackle with Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, knowing that we had a better chance of, trying to sustain Blake Corum and those guys versus Michael Penix, Roma Dunze, and McMillan and Jalen Polk and all those guys, right? So, but we get them now, and we knew this was coming. And this is going to test how well you hold your water from a physicality perspective. But also, Michigan will be tested in terms of that Big Ten narrative regarding speed. It wasn't an issue for them last year. They had NFL guys all over the place, and they were not just fast, but, they were explosive themselves last season, especially when they needed to be. But this year's version of Michigan, especially dealing with us, it goes both ways, right? We're going to be, this comment here, we're one of the most explosive teams in the country in terms of just raw speed to the football, speed to power when we're hitting people, speed in the open field offensively. We have a lot of guys that had the potential to go off for a one-play touchdown. A lot of speed all over the place. This is to answer your question, this is the fastest Texas team I've ever seen. It took me one game to see it in person. speed is speed, right? Doesn't mean you're the best Texas team or anything like that. Just in terms of eye test, watching both sides of the ball, there's track people all over the place. It's ridiculous. Big guys and little guys. Now, Michigan, again, different animal. They're going to come in rocking with 12 personnel, big boys up front, ready to bang, right? Ready to play phone booth football. It's going to be cooler outside. I'm kind of painting the picture for y'all, right? I mean, that's of what we can expect of how they are going to play us and test us the same way we are going to try to test them on the perimeter and out in space. My word for this week, last week's theme was don't play with your food. I think we can all say that Texas succeeded, mission accomplished. They did not play with their food. They look like one of the stronger teams in the country. They made a team that I still believe Colorado State will make a bowl game this year. They made them look like a FCS program. Okay. So they accomplished that. This week, for me, one of my keywords is space. If Texas can get out in space, if they can get their playmakers in space, I know how we rally to the ball in space and how we shut down stuff in space. That's a big, big theme for me as I look at how we match up with them because I know we're a more explosive team than they are. Not to say that they don't have athletes, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Don't get it twisted with Michigan, especially their DBs and how opportunistic they were, even in the Fresno game. But that's been their modus operandi going back the last few seasons, even with Coach Harbaugh and all the defensive guys they had that installed their sets from the Baltimore Ravens. Very attack minded, balls in the air, tracking, all those things. You make a mistake, they will make you pay. So a lot of the hiccups and the execution type things, the little nitpicky things that we had last week, I think Sark is on point by saying those things have to be cleaned up against a team like this. You can't allow those things to get in your way. One thing I want to do, I'm going to get to some of these comments here, but I want to give a very quick shout out to our sponsor, Autograph, which started up in the Michigan football space last year. And because they held it down, their fan base was so strong and active in that space on the app. It is now available not just for all of us college football fans, but NFL, NBA, whole bit. Now, what is Autograph and how does it work? It is a fan-led app, a fan-rewarded app. All of us that are fanatics here that follow our favorite teams, however we're digesting content, right? Whether we're reading articles, watching YouTube videos like this one, or listening to podcasts about the Texas Longhorns or the Michigan Wolverines or whoever you follow, you can do it through the Autograph app. It is free. All you have to do, it is invite only to get signed up, and then use the Fanatic24 promo code to get access to the app. And one of the things that allow you to do is to start earning credit and points for all of the things you would already consume as a Texas fan, doing what you already do every single day, following your favorite team, right? But now you get rewarded for it. Now you have access to special ticketing, access to prizes, giveaways, rewards. As you accumulate more points, opens up opportunity to win more things. I think it's a really, really dope platform, something that, you don't even have to pay for, and access to really, really cool things that you wouldn't get access to anywhere else. So shout out to Autograph. It is available in Google Play if you're on Android, and in the App Store if you're on Apple. So appreciate you guys there. Now let me check in with the comments real quick. RC, I see you from Japan. Thank you. We out here worldwide, baby. So appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. 1216 Hurricane said, excited for the season. Been around since the Boss's Ranch days. Man, I know a lot of people remember Boss's Ranch. Hopefully we get a result more like last year at Alabama versus 2019 with LSU at home. Well, we're going on the road, right? So you definitely want to have that business-like mentality. And the good thing is, Sark and them going against a Nick Saban team, there are some similarities here. I think that Alabama defense was more explosive and more experienced than the Michigan, crew that is still the guys that are still here. Both outstanding units, but I give the edge to Bama because of Saban. Um, Offensively, Jalen Milroe was a baby at that point. He was, hadn't even had 5 starts yet, and they were still kind of finding their identity. We took advantage of it. But I think the belief that we gained from that and the confidence and the know-how, and so many guys that are key parts of our group today that went on that trip that can also share those experiences with the young guys. You already heard it from dudes like Jide Barron. I think that really helps Texas on this business trip, right? So I'm expecting them to go in with the same type of mentality, physicality, and sense of purpose to execute. I'm not expecting snap infractions, senior Jake Majors, right? Let's get on. Let's. I know what you're capable of, Bubba. You're a great player. Let's be focused, right? No, no, no. Not expecting guys to be tripping and falling over themselves, as I saw because I rewatched the game. That's why I'm saying some of this stuff. I rewatched the Texas game and some of the nitpicky things, right? Making sure we catch the football, making sure Ryan Wingo, Isaiah Bond, guys, Silas Bolden, making sure we're smart upstairs with our discernment, with ball handling, right? I think that you can be cavalier against opponents like Colorado State. Again, an opportunistic defense like this, they thrive off of that stuff. We know what we have to do to just making sure that we're not getting in our own way. Those are the type of things that are self-inflicted to me if you allow them to happen. Forrest, what's up, man? How we doing? Worried about our interior offensive line, D line just a little bit. Was a little sloppy. Gunner got by a couple times in the run game. Well, Gunner's more of a receiving tight end. I've been saying this. Um, he is good enough in the blocking game. Um, I don't know if you guys saw, we did use some of our bigger 12 personnel packages at times. I think depending on the situation and yardage, stuff we used to do, like, when we brought in like Malik Agbo as the sixth lineman or anything like that, we could use that situationally. But Gunner's there to be a receiver and to be a safety valve. Now, in terms of the interior offensive line, again, to me, it's more execution and just focus type stuff. I don't think that they are, and they have options. If folks are getting pushed around, Cole Hudson is a mauler waiting to get in the game. Neto's a capable guy waiting to get in the game. That are both of them are ready to be active. So on that interior, I they got Flood. Flood has some options to play with if he starts to pick up on stuff early in the game. On the outside, I expect Kelvin Banks to have a great game. I think this is a good matchup for him. And Cam Williams, in his second start, was co-SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week this week. Big time kudos for Cam Williams and his performance. So we got a young guy who's the new starter in the group who's already getting the accolades at right tackle. So I think that's a good sign for things to come. I will say this. My concern is with our defensive line. We did give up a 100-yard rusher. And I think watching it back from me, this is just what I saw. I think there's a few different things. I think Colorado State jumped out of character from their air raid stuff. I expect them to come in here and throw the ball 50, 60 times. They decided to run and protect themselves because of the fact that they were overwhelmed with our speed. I think once they tried to do some of their bubble stuff, the rhythm stuff to try to get going, and we flushed it immediately, they went to run, protect our quarterback. Let's not get anybody injured, get the conference play and get out of here. And they gashed us a couple times on some downs where I think we were expecting pass. And I also think that Kenny Baker and those guys are trying to figure out their rotations, where Bo Davis really had a good sense of who his key guys were, of mixing his three techs with his nose tackles. If you notice, sometimes, and I'm not blaming any individual person, but you would see a guy like Jermaine Lole rotate in, and, let's say, he rotate in for Bill Norton. He's next to Vernon Broughton or whatever. And, maybe there was a slip in the gap or things like that. I do think with the mentality of knowing who they're about to go up against and the expectation with Michigan, as well as some of the run grades that I'm seeing for Michigan in their first game, I do think we will be better prepared. But I said this after the game, and I want to reiterate this. We are not going to be the run stopping group we were last year. You don't just replace Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, especially when they both went off together. I do think that we have a better chance to be a better defense overall and a more dangerous defense, though, especially in creating turnovers and chaos and rallying to the football. But I'm not expecting us to hold Michigan at 2.5 yards per carry. I don't think that's realistic. But what I do think is realistic is we're good situationally. We bow up on short yardage and we try our best to try to make them more one dimensional while also, giving our offense time to get into rhythm and flow. Because the other key point here that I'd like to make as well is this: Michigan's going to have to score a certain amount of points to beat us. They're not going to be able to hang, pull off a, let's say, 17 to 20 point offensive day and get away with it, right? I mean, if you think about it with the Fresno game, they got points outside of their offense and they still only hit 30 points. The last 2 years under Sark with Quinn Ewers at quarterback, our baseline's 30 points, win or lose, pretty much. The only game where we really got boxed up like that was TCU 2 years ago. That's the only game where I'm looking at where we really got like seriously boxed up, couldn't produce offense, anything. The Bama game 2 years ago, we only scored 19, but Quinn got hurt. So some of these other games, when you look at it, it's like even Iowa State last year still scored 26, right? Another game we said 29. Our baseline is pretty much 30 points that our offense will score. So if to me, the question I'm asking in Michigan is between the combination of Davis Warren and Alex Orgy or whoever else you're throwing out there, even with the good tight end, are you going to be able to generate enough points to beat us? I mean, Washington had to get to 37 to beat us in the Sugar Bowl. We still got to 31. So I'm looking at that point threshold. That's a question I have for the Michigan folks for matching up with us, right? It's not us just matching up with them. It's they got to match up with us. Boston's Ranch Days, absolutely. And I'm glad our guys know what's up. Yes, it is going to be a fist fight. But I'm telling you this again, we, our we're scoring at, I'd say at minimum 27 points. At minimum. And I have questions on whether or not Michigan can put up those type of points right now with this group. We're not facing JJ McCarthy and Blake Corum and some of those really, really good players that they had last year. That's not this group yet, right? Jim Harbaugh's not there. You look at the coaches as well. So I got questions. Yeah, no, they spoiled us. Our future, absolutely right. They spoiled us. So we gotta again the linebackers. Um, I actually was very pleased with the linebacker play. Rewatching the game, if David Benda plays like that the whole season, he's getting drafted. I don't care about his age. He's getting drafted. That's an explosiveness you can't teach, especially when he understands what he's seeing moving forward. He's straight, and you got two people moving like that with him and Anthony Hill in there. The backup guys, Leifau looked really, really good. Darian Gillette, to me, he smacked somebody. Nobody even talked about that. Um, I'm encouraged with those guys. Aaron Reynolds, what's up? What's up? Way before Boston's Ranch. I love it. I'll take giving up. This is me personally. I'll take giving up some of the run stuff that we were best in the nation dominant at to be more disruptive on the back end with speed, turnovers, disruptiveness, and better in pass coverage. Also, better pass rush. If that's, again, we're not saying we're taking a step down to where we cannot stop throwing Ryan Cable. I think we can do a better job than what we did this past week. That is something that, no doubt about it. But as a whole, in terms of flying to the football, seeing what was the stat? They only missed 3 tackles the whole game. Now, hey, we're again different opponent. Donovan Edwards is out there. He's a baller. I don't care about him not putting up numbers against Fresno State. I expect that brother to ball against us. Uh, Mulligan's the 6'2", 240 running back that they had that almost had 100 yards against Fresno. That's basically the replacement for Blake Corum. That brother's big. Those guys can break tackles. But I'm encouraged that we weren't lazy. I love the way that we flew to the ball. I love the way that, even guys that were still kind of weren't in best position were able to hang on and allow their teammates to go. Those are good habits that translate when you watch the film of Texas defense. So that I'm encouraged by. But our tackling is going to have to be like that against Michigan this week with those 2 running backs and their abilities. Quentin, what's up, man? Appreciate the super chat. I got you here. I didn't miss it this time. Y'all ready? Y'all trying to target Will Johnson? he actually got he got some work last week from Fresno State. I don't know. Yes, he got a pick 6. He's an awesome player. And he's going to be, in my opinion, he's probably going to be a first-round pick, probably top 15 pick in the NFL draft when he comes out. Teams are looking for corners like that. He got Fresno completed some passes on him. Now I know they paid it as well, but it wasn't a flawless performance from Will. And then the other corner, that's where I'm looking at Ryan Wingo early as a freshman, back shoulder on that side, because that guy was also getting abused. So I'm looking at guys like Wingo, Matthew Golden, another one. Some of those guys that can use their size, especially with Quinn's ball placement. I think there's some food out there in that secondary, as good as they are as a team and a unit. Individually, got some of these guys can be had. Even Will Johnson. I mean, Isaiah Bond is one of the fastest players in the country. Jonte Cook is no slouch. I just talked about Wingo wherever he lines up. Like, these are real dudes that they're covering as well. Now, communication, when we choose to attack, how we choose to attack, that will determine our ball security. But what I do trust is, I think in the games like this, Quinn and Sark have done a pretty good job of taking care of the football. I think against top 10 teams, Quinn has only thrown 1 interception, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's only thrown 1 pick against top 10 team matchups. Yeah, we only missed 3 tackles. So this is a good question. How many sacks from the edge? This is an important game from them setting the edge, right? Being physical. I think everybody kind of taking the key that Baron Sorrell set the tone with this past week. I think this is a big game. If I'm thinking about matchups, especially type of tackles that Michigan has, Ethan Burke is a guy that's important with his length, experience, and hand placement. That's a guy who I would play a lot this week, especially on early downs. But on obvious pass rushing downs, that Nansen NASCAR package, if you get Michigan backed up into 3rd and 12s, 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s, you can deploy that package and let Colin Simmons, Trey Moore, and Hill wreak havoc while you have the 6 DBs. I really like that package on obvious passing downs. But you're going to have to earn it on first and second down against these dudes. And that's what's really challenging when Michigan is running their offense. Sharon Moore, I remember when they were playing Maryland last year and Harbaugh wasn't even there, they were literally running the rock down people's throats. They weren't even getting to third down. And that's something that, you cannot allow if you're Texas, right? So, um, kicking chicken. How's Michigan getting to 27? Please inform me of that because I know our baseline. I know our baseline exactly. Our receivers will put stress on any defense. Joey Flores, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Yeah, Quinn's played very well in big games like this, and again, scoring hasn't been our challenge. I mean, I'm just expecting the offense to go up there. They have a this is a tough matchup for the Texas offense. Don't let it get twisted, especially with our offensive line. Some of the guys that Michigan still has up front, uh, you know, defensively, some of those guys are the best in the country. Um, so I still expect us to to have some challenges there. I mean, um, what's the brother's name? Josiah Stewart, Mason Graham. Those are good football players. Really, really, really good football players. Oh no, there's no sleep in here. um, we did, we played some really good defenses last year. If I'm not mistaken, we put up 34 points on Alabama last season in Tuscaloosa, and they went on not to lose another football game that season. I don't know if you were familiar with SEC football, kicking chicken, but let's not establish fake narratives here. Okay, we can respect each other and talk about each other's teams without forcing fake narratives. That was the Alabama defense, by the way, that had Caleb Downs and a bunch of dudes. Okay, Dallas Turner. So let's not act like we haven't put up points against good defenses. That's just factually that's just horribly inaccurate. And I'm hearing this from a Big Ten guy as well. So that's interesting. But no shade, no shade. Joey, again, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you, brother. I like the way Trey ran. That's it. That he ran very very well. Very 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 well. And the thing is, it was he ran to the point where it almost felt like it was interchangeable between him and Blue, and that's what you want, right? You want your backs, and that does not even to mention our leading rusher in the game, Jared Gibson, 10 carries for 67 yards. Um, I'll give you things to exploit on both sides, from my opinion. In terms of the Texas offense versus Michigan defense, if I'm Michigan, I will try stunts and trying to confuse the Texas offensive line. I think there could be issues there at times with pass pro. Uh, this is also where Jake Majors, Quinn, some of the older guys need to step up in terms of comms. That's something I would try to exploit. I think Michigan has the personnel up front to be able to have some success there in their front seven. Um, to me, that's their best chance to slow us down, to keep us out of rhythm from hitting all of our playmakers. especially getting the ball laterally because they, again, the tape doesn't lie. I mean, they struggled in space against Fresno. I was watching Fresno State athletes catch the ball in space and turn the ball upfield with no issue. So again, I expect them to play better, but that seemed to also be an athletic type thing too. And we know what type of ballers we have. So I think pressure obviously can disrupt any offense, right? So the weakness I would exploit is the interior of the Texas offensive line in terms of comms with stunts, games, late delayed blitzes, making sure that we're buttoned up there in terms of communication. In terms of our defense, um, I mean, we're going to look at testing those defensive tackles. I also think catching Texas in substitution patterns. We do a lot of hockey subs still on defense. We rotate out a lot of guys. I think if you're Michigan, if you have a certain person you want to pick on in the Texas secondary, let's say we rotated Gavin Holmes for a series, they may try to pick on him, right? With Freddie Moore or one of those guys to get vertical. They may try to double something up and get their tight end isolated on one of our probably more inexperienced type safeties, depending on if they find a substitution pattern they like and decide to go tempo real quick. That's something that they could throw at us, right? But the obvious thing is they're trying to get downhill and see if we can hold our water physically in the run game. If our linebackers can fill properly and do it over and over and over again, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to. Michigan's not, and I respect them for it. They're not going to change who they are for anybody, and they're going to do them and all the way to the end. And that's why they've been so successful over the last 3 years, and they're national champions. But those are the things I would say in terms of looking to exploit to answer your question. We do. This is a good point. Texas games like this, we really do. We really have played up to the competition. I really feel that way. I agree with this. Um, in terms of playing good ball, execution, being sharp, executing the game plan itself from the coaching staff. Sometimes your game plan can be terrible. Your players ready, everybody's juiced up. We think we got a good plan, and the other coaching staff is doing laps around you. I'll give you an example. LSU and USC last night. Anybody watch that game? Thought it was a very good football game. Thought both quarterbacks played very well, especially for new starters. Thought there wasn't a whole lot of mistakes, honestly. But USC, in my opinion, situationally outcoached LSU and had more discipline than LSU and ended up winning the football game. And you should be, if you're an LSU fan, you should be frustrated because your players played well. I mean, they had some hiccups, with some coverage stuff in secondary as the game went on, but that pales in comparison to what they were last year, where they were some of the worst in the country. They were good. They held when they needed to hold, right, in the red zone until the end. But I thought Brian Kelly and them got out coached by Lincoln Riley and that crew. That's just my opinion. So sometimes the game plan, both teams are ready to execute, both teams are focused. Then it goes to the coaches. And sometimes somebody else got a better plan on the other side, or they adjust quicker. I think Davis Warren, um, I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's bad. I think if we were playing Alex Orgy, where we know it, and I think they're going to use both. I think they're going to bring him, obviously, Orgy for red zone type stuff, short yardage, give us a throw out a different look. We should have packages ready for any time 10 is on the field. But Davis Warren, in terms of being able to hit the tight end, um, and being efficient, right, as a passer, um, with his accuracy, I think he is fairly accurate. I would say as long as Michigan is on time with their run game stuff, Davis Warren's okay. Now, I don't think Davis Warren's good enough just to beat us outright. No, no, that's not going to happen. They are going to need to have a lot of success on the ground, and then Davis Warren making some throws off of play action, or doing enough to manage the game. But him coming out there and drop back passing, no, that's not going to happen. I agree. It is going to be a great game. I think both teams are going to. Michigan, look, they know they played bad this past week. They know they played bad. They know what's on the line narrative wise. Um, you know, to be the champs, you got to beat the champs. You got to take it from them. And I don't expect them to give it up laying down. We're going to have to exploit certain matchups and beat these guys. If we see a QB change during the game, that tells you how well we're doing, right? To force such a thing, right? But I expect PK, Johnny Nansen, Blake Gideon, Terry Joseph, Kenny Baker, the whole crew to have a plan ready for the quarterback run. Unfortunately, we didn't see any quarterback run this week. So that's another thing that concerns me just because we didn't have to defend it yet with this group. We saw no quarterback run in week one. And we already knew coming in the game Colorado State wasn't going to do it anyway. So we haven't had live reps, I will say, against it. So if they go to Orgy and just try to run read option or, you know, stuff out the gun to kind of spread us out and then try to gash us with draws and whatnot, we're gonna have to kind of go back to the plan we had for Milrow last year, right? And understand what our keys were and how we defended him, right? Good thing is similar type athlete and measurables, but Milrow was obviously a much better passer, more explosive passer downfield than Alex Orji presents. He's really struggling to throw the football right now. Alex is. That's why he's not the starter. That's why they have to go with more of the game manager, traditional Michigan drop back QB in Davis Warren. I think they really, really wanted to push Alex Orji out there to give them that dynamic ability paired with the run game. But as you saw with JJ McCarthy, if you're not timely with your throws and hitting those, this offense can't function. So because of that, he's now a gadget player. And when you're a gadget player, that gives Texas the advantage of having a whole defense ready for you when you come on the field instead of you being the starter. And that's a significant advantage for Texas, in my opinion, in this game. Texas won't score on Michigan. Hmm. I don't even take what you say seriously, Extreme Gamer Mac. But thanks for being here. Um, Play action off Orgy will open the field. Well, then why isn't he your starter, sir? Why isn't he? He's coming in. and doing wildcat type stuff. The guy is struggling to complete a forward pass on a consistent basis. It just gives Texas the advantage because Davis Warren's not going to run all over me. So now, at least if I'm Anthony Hill and David Benda and Michael Taft and Andrew Makuba, depending on what quarterback's in, I know how to play them. Right? It's just more of taking that pounding, putting your hard hat on, and no, we about to rock because Michigan's physical as hell, and they're going to try to run that rock, right? Especially out of 12 personnel. And then they're going to try to slip Loveland, who is one of the best tight ends in the country and is going to be a high NFL pick at his position. You know, he can move in the slot. There's some dynamic things he can do. I like what I saw from him, but that's I'll just say as a Texas fan of what we've seen the last 2 years in I'll say the Quinn Sark era and the PK era. I'm not freaking out like I was freaking out when we were about to play Michael Penix, okay? And some of these guys. It's very straightforward of what we're about to go deal with. And I think Michigan people will agree with that. You guys' method to your madness has been execution and keeping it simple and beating the shit out of people at the line of scrimmage, which, again, I'm impressed with that. I'm impressed with that. And then they have enough athletes out there once they hit play action and start throwing the ball downfield. They've been good. I'm not one of those ones that will ignore what I'm seeing, especially from the national champs. But, I mean, we've seen some dynamic stuff from people, especially some of the coaches in the conference we previously came from. So, I mean, I just want to keep it at that. I'll let you, I got to get off here in a little bit, Quinn. This is not a long live today. It's not a long live today. I have a dinner and some fantasy drafts I got to get to, unfortunately. It's cool to see the growth. I like this comment. It's cool to see the growth from guys like Benda and Taft, who the fan base is pretty out on, and now they're key players for this team. I think they're getting their respect, right? Development is key. I think in David Benda's case, it was mental development. In Michael Taft's case, it was physical development. And in both cases, they are very, very key players for our defense. And then when you add an Andrew Makuba next to a Michael Taft, you got two real smart guys back there. That's why some of the run leaks last week against Colorado State, what you saw from Texas was at least our safeties could clean it up. And in one case, Michael Taft baptized a guy. Another case, Andrew Makuba was able to hit somebody's legs and get him on the ground. The longest run we gave up was 13 yards, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not like we were giving up 20-plus yard runs. Our safeties, when we had a mistake, the reason why they're called safeties, they were able to do their job and clean that up and mitigate the damage. That is something that if you go and look at the A&M Notre Dame game, their safeties were screwing up, right? Their front was outstanding for the most part of holding on to that run. But the few runs that would leak, their safeties and their DBs crapped the bed, and Notre Dame was able to break off big runs. That's the difference. Our guys were able to tackle in the open field and mitigate a lot of that stuff. And our corners are more physical now. We have more, Kobe Black, Malik Muhammad, Jade Barron, Jalen Gilbo. Jalen Gilbo led us in tackles. So we have guys that are not afraid to stick their helmet in and be a part of run fits. And I give credit to Ryan Watts last year. Get well soon, Ryan Watts, by the way, on Pittsburgh Steelers. But I give him credit because he kind of set the tone from corner in terms of being a key part of our run fits the last couple seasons. and that has continued with our DBs. So even in Michigan, they'll run toss sweep, they'll run some counter stuff, power to the outside. Guys got to come in and take one for the team, you know, and that's why, again, another reason why Michigan is so successful, because they test your will. But I know with our Texas guys, when we've been asked to do some of those things, I've seen it from a bunch of different people, especially the guys I just named. What's up? No, the tackling across the board was very good, very very good. Yep, you're gonna give up runs. You're gonna give up runs at times. There's no defense where, like, the thing is, your safeties get to determine whether or not it was a 12-yard run. Ah, damn. All right, cool. Let's line up and get it again, or it turns into something worse, right? Where the guy gets out the open field and breaks somebody down, and now they hit in the sideline, or breaks contain. I thought we did a good job with contain. That's key as well, right? Because Michigan, um, and their coordinator, I believe, is their former QB coach, who's now spun down to be the offensive coordinator since Sharon Moore is now the head coach. But what he'll do is he'll go lateral a few times just to break tendency. They're not just straightforward all the way through, right? They'll have some plays where they'll do toss sweep, jet sweep, and then somebody will throw the ball. That's a non-quarterback. So they'll have some stuff baked in there for us as well. Um, just like Michigan will probably get to see a lot of stuff we've been planning to do with Silas Bolden that we didn't even get to, right? We didn't even go to that page of the playbook this past week. There's some stuff in there, I'm sure. In terms of more deep, long developing, those deep crossers, those deep posts that Sark is known for. We didn't see too much of that drawn up against Colorado State, right? So, or when he builds a play off a play, right? Where we kind of run something, boom, 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 and then we play action off of it too and set somebody up, right? Whether it's to John Tay Cook or again Isaiah Bond, kind of screaming down between two safeties. So I'm curious to see the expansion of what Sark wants to do, because um, how you guys know how I feel about the term vanilla. It's the play calls that are vanilla, but the execution still needs to be there. This week is a good example of that. Yes, the play calling was vanilla, but the execution and the points and making plays was much better, right? So um, that's something to where I'm now like, okay, this week is full menu against these guys, especially from a national narrative and the college football playoff on the line. I would say Bama, in my opinion. I think Bama last year was a tougher game. But that is no disrespect to Michigan. Um, it's just the matchups and what they bring. Now, I would feel even better if I had. It's gonna sound weird. If I had Byron Murphy and Devondre Sweat, I'd really be chilling right now. So they lost guys, we lost guys. So there's people are gonna have to step up on both sides that haven't been asked to do that on this stage yet. That's on both ends. So let me wrap up here because again, more. This is just the early kind of tell the tape. Um, I'm kind of looking at Michigan's. Yeah, I take PFF grades with a grain of salt. Like, I'll just say this: offensively, this past week again, it's a one game. Loveland outstanding. He had an 89 grade on 46 total snaps. Miles Hinton, their tackle, 73. And then Mullings was a 70, and everybody else was below. Davis Warren was a 69.7. And the rest were in the 50s and 60s on their end, um, from a PFF standpoint. And then, defensively, they obviously graded a lot better. Will Johnson, 75. Josiah Stewart graded a 91. Derek Moore graded a 90.9. They both played a lot of snaps. Rayshawn Benny graded a 79.8. So they graded a lot better defensively. But that offense was a struggle bus, which again, I ask, how is Michigan going to get to our baseline of points that we score? That's my big question for the Michigan folks. Yep. I I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan threw a complete wrench out there and started Alex. I don't know. I think they're gonna play both. I expect Davis Warren to start, but um, Texas has to have a package ready for both. Mason Graham definitely will be a handful. He's one of the best defensive linemen in the country. Josiah Stewart's going to be a handful. Um, but that's why our offensive linemen are regarded the way that they are and get paid the big bucks. So, by the way, y'all hit that like button, subscribe, the whole bit. I'll be back. Pretty much videos, I think, almost every day this week. Plus, I'll be on Bleacher Report Wednesday night uh, for more Texas breakdown, more Texas Michigan coverage. I'll have some guests on throughout the week. Tran and I will do our normal breakdown. But yeah, I think right now it's just getting a feel for what we're getting into. I feel really, really good about this football game based upon the way this Texas team looks, what I'm hearing, and what my eyes tell me. But I have a lot of respect for Michigan and what they bring to the table, and I think that they are going to be a very, very tough out, especially at home for the national champions. But at the end of the week, you guys will get my prediction once I'm on with Tran. Shout out to our sponsors, Autograph, one of the best apps for rewarding fans like ourselves, whether it's reading content that you're already going to read, watching videos you'd already watch, listen to podcasts you'd already listen to, get rewarded for your fandom, get points, get loyalty stuff, opportunities at tickets, opportunities for really cool sporting events down the road in all different sports, not just college football. This actually started during March Madness, and folks were able to get tickets to Sweet 16 games, Elite Eight games, so forth, right? So all you have to do is hit that Fanatic24 promo code. It is free app to use, whether it's in the Apple Store or Google Play Store if you're on Android. But check out our great partner. Thrilled to be with them and all the stuff they're developing. A lot of cool integrative stuff on the platform. So check them out. Y'all, appreciate everybody that tapped in. I'll be back with more as well as a guest. But it was great chatting with everybody here. Remember, horns always up. Hook 'em.